Hey everybody, what's up? Charlie here with Creative ID Co. Today I want to talk about how to sell anything to anyone, especially for those of you that are photographers and creators or online digital creators or whatever you do. I want to talk about how you can actually get your stuff out there to go ahead and make a living. So let's jump right in. Now, today, first of all, I'm going to tell you a story. The first thing about this story is hang with me till the end because you don't want to miss out on the whole point of the story. It's a little bit winded, but I promise you I have a point. And so, a long time ago, and many moons away, I was working in tech support. Long story short, I had a 9 to 5 where I got laid off and I didn't have work anymore. And so I had to find out something to make ends meet. Well, I ended up getting a job at a place called Panera Bread. If you live in a state in the United States where there's a Panera Bread, you already know what this is already. But if not, it's like a bakery cafe basically. And so my job was to go in every day and set up the bakery and to go ahead and get all the baked goods out, get the coffee going, all that good stuff. And I pretty much worked there like 6 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, something like that. One day, my boss, Lori, came out of the blue and she goes, "Hey, it's just about Thanksgiving time and I have an order of 5,000 sourdough rolls. And whomever sells the most sourdough rolls to customers today gets $50 bonus." And so it's straight up cash. And I was like, okay, cool. And there was another woman that was working with me. Her name was Carol. She's like in her 60s at the time. And her and I kind of did this high west or like old school, like old west kind of like showdown thing or whatever. We looked at each other across the bakery just like, it's on. I'm going to win. She's like, no, I'm going to win. I'm like, no, I'm going to win. Really, I promise you I'm going to win. And so, long story short, the whole day, whomever came through my line in Panera, I was like, hey, you want some sourdough rolls with that? Because it was just about Thanksgiving time, and I was like, it'll go really great with your family dinner. Your family will love these. They're soft, they're delicious, and everything of that sort, you know? And I just really laid it on thick. Even if they only bought a coffee or if they bought a pastry or whatever, I asked every single person, would you like some sourdough rolls with that for your Thanksgiving dinner? That was my selling point. And so a lot of people were like, wow, sourdough rolls, yeah, that sounds great. And they'd buy a whole bag of sourdough rolls. I ended up selling 2,872 sourdough rolls that day. Now, let's get into the lesson of this. Why did I sell the sourdough rolls? Number one, I wanted the $50, to be honest. Number two, I simply asked. This is 99% of us out there that are doing digital creation services, photography, like whatever it may be. We have to learn how to sell ourselves. Now, the first things about this is it's scary. It's scary to put yourself out in the world because there's a big chance that somebody might say no. And for a lot of us, that's a fear of rejection thing, is what it boils down to. You have to get over that because you have to get out there in the world and you have to ask people if they will actually hire you to do your services. Because if you're a photographer and you're looking to make money in weddings, for example, how do you get weddings? Well, you have to ask the wedding couples if they will hire you to shoot their weddings, pretty much. How do you find wedding couples? You do your marketing. That'll be a different video for a different day. We'll get into that down the road. And so my point is that basically you have to learn where these people live to ask the question, hey, do you want this service? Could this service benefit you in any way? Is there something that I could do to help you to get through what you're going through and stuff like that is another question I might ask. Because what you want to do is generally lead people to the conclusion that they think it's a good idea to hire your services. You don't want to just be like, hey, I've got this package, it's $199. Let's go ahead and get you signed up today. They're going to be like, why? You have to go ahead and talk to them and make them think it's their idea. It's like a psychology 101 kind of thing. And so going back to my history of the sourdough rolls, I outsold Carol by a long shot that day. And I won the $50, took home a $50 bill, and I was happy. What I didn't learn at the time is that when I got done with my tech stuff, and I actually went back to college in my early 30s to go ahead and finish an art degree, to go ahead and actually do the degree that I thought I needed to make money in photography, I already knew how to sell my services. But it took me a long way about to kind of realize this. So that's why I'm doing this video today, is to tell you that you already have this in you. You just got to get over the fear of actually asking people to give you money. Now, there's a lot of different fears that you could get into. It's fear of money. It's fear of like believing in yourself. It's like low self-confidence. We'll save those for a different day as well, because like I have a course coming up that I'm going to do within the next year I'll be announcing that down the road. But I'm going to tell you how to get over fear, basically. And when you walk through the fear on there, you can jump on with mentorships with me, and we can go ahead and do like one-on-one Zoom sessions. I can tell you how to get through this stuff, and I can help coach you through this stuff so that you can do the thing, basically. You can go ahead and get where you want to be. And so that'll be down the road coming up. You can go ahead and sign up for that class. You can go ahead and drop me an email over at charlienaebeck.co or creativeid.co, and we can talk about that down the road. Now, getting back to my story and how this relates to your services, you're a photographer or you're a creative of some sort, or you're a website developer like me, and you want to sell something to a potential client. Number one, figure out the market first in there and figure out who your prospective clients are. Because if you don't know this already and you go ahead and just create a service, you're like, hey, I'm a photographer, I want to go ahead and shoot your picture. Well, who is actually going to give you money is my next question for you. And you might say, hey, I could just post my pictures up on Instagram and everybody under the sun will like the pictures and that they will hire my services. I'm sorry to say it doesn't work like that. You're going to get crickets. Even when I was in New York and I was working for Condé Nast and I was working for Live Nation and I was working for all these other high-end gigs and I got into teaching, no one actually went to my Instagram, even though I had about 250,000 followers on my old account that I killed over the COVID times. And no one actually went to my Instagram and bought my services, to be honest. It was always because I actually met someone, I smiled face to face, and I shook their hand. They got to know me, they got to like me, they understood that they could trust me, things like that. And that went a long way to actually get them signed up for what they needed out of my services. And so, long story short on here, when you're a photographer, when you're a creative website developer, like I say, whatever, you have to actually know how to get out there and sell yourself. And so once you have a product, you have an idea that you want to be a photographer, for example. What you have to do is figure out who is actually going to buy that stuff. Well, if you're photographing portraits, well, there's a lot of different styles of portraits. Like you can do newborns, you could do families, you could do like headshots, you could do couples, you could do weddings, like all sorts of different portraiture happens. And you have to decide what you do want to do and what you don't want to do. For example, maybe you shoot headshots and you don't want anything to do with like families or newborns or anything like that. Well, that's fine, but you have to find the people that actually need headshots. Think about this. Who needs a headshot? A lot of times you might see this on LinkedIn profiles. You might see this like for business stuff. You might see this for actors, actresses, musicians, whomever. Everybody generally needs a good headshot for something to do with work. And so how I would do it is I'd go to somewhere like LinkedIn, for example, because that's a good business site where a lot of people are on there to basically work. And I would start doing outreach to people. Find people in your local area and say, like, hey, I've got headshots, for example, and send them your portfolio, send them your pricing, stuff like that. And say, hey, can we jump on a quick 30-minute call on Zoom to go ahead and talk about setting up a great headshot for you? Or a quick 15-minute call or whatever, for example. Or can we meet at the local coffee shop and talk about this? You have to figure out a way to talk to these people, because if you only send the outreach and you're like, hey, I do portraits, I do headshots, and it costs $1,000, nobody's going to buy your services is the honest answer, because you're doing a hard sell. You have to find a way to get to these people and be able to talk to them, to sit down, tell stories, shake hands, smile face to face, because that's going to actually let you into their world and they're going to come into your world. You'll find out that there's times you'll sit down with these meetings where you absolutely feel in your head, your heart, and your gut that it just doesn't work. And that's okay. That's doing business 101. You're not going to convert every single client, their potential client, I should say, that comes through your door. And so you have to figure out what works and how to go ahead and kind of figure out what your target audience is and stuff like that. And that stuff I could help you out with mentorship as well. I can design all that stuff. We can profile it all together. We can get you out there finding the people that you actually want to work with. And then you can reach out to these people. You can sit down, have the conversation, and sell your services. Simple as that. And so the whole point of the story today is sometimes you already have it in you, but you just have to reactivate the fire, or you have to go ahead and light the fuse, so to speak, to go ahead and get it going, to go ahead and do the thing. For me, I go ahead and I try to outreach to people I want to work with every single day. And I don't really do any type of digital or online marketing services at the moment personally, because it's all outreach. I go ahead and I call these people directly, because emails or text messages, really, to be honest, they can get ignored really quickly. you want to go ahead and actually talk to someone, because if you can talk to them, you can find out or ask questions basically to go ahead and actually find out where they're sitting. And once you find out where they're sitting, you can go ahead and figure out what might work for them, what might not work for them. And you're like, hey, your website needs some help. And they're like, okay, yeah, my website needs some help. And you're like, hey, can we jump on a meeting at 3 o'clock today to go ahead and sign this up? Or not to sign this up necessarily, but go ahead and talk about your website. I got this really great website I built for you already. I'd love to show you. It's on my local computer. Something like that is the way I usually do it, to go ahead and get people on Zoom. And then I start to have a genuine conversation. And so having genuine, authentic conversations goes a long way, is my point of this whole long-winded history today. And as you get into it, you'll find your way. And like I say, if you need some help, jump on my website. It is charlienaebeck.com, or you can jump over to creativeid.com. This week I'm going to be posting some new services over there, and then I got mentorship on there coming as well. And so you can do this either way, and I can go ahead and help you coach through, and I can go ahead and get you going. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you have found any value in this, please be sure to go ahead and subscribe, to like, go ahead and turn on those notifications and all that good stuff. I'm going to be doing some other helpful tips, some other classes coming up on this channel as well. And if you did that sort of thing, let's go ahead and do the thing. I'll see you soon.